The views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal, and do not reflect the views of any organization.
Hello and welcome once again to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. Speaking of straight bats, Kaun Banega Captain in Indian cricket is often as dramatic a story as Kaun Banega Pradhan Mantri in Indian politics, which is why I thought this was a good week to talk about the big talking point in Indian cricket. Is there a big divide between the Indian cricket test captain Virat Kohli and the BCCI headed by Sourav Ganguly and the BCCI secretary Jay Shah? What's the asli kahani? Now, I know that the legendary Sunil Gavaskar came on my show this week and said we were making a mountain out of a molehill. Well, the truth is, make no mistake, there is a problem. Dal mein kuch kala hai, because Virat Kohli and the board seem to be at least talking on cross purposes. And while all is not well within the BCCI, it is important to separate gossip and speculation from what is the inside story. So let's bring you the inside story on the straight bat. Now, problems, it appears, between Mr. Kohli, Virat Kohli and the BCCI started during the England tour earlier this year. In the month of June, India played the World Test Championships against New Zealand, lost the match. Virat was furious and openly and publicly said that there was a lack of intent shown by senior batsmen. At the time, it was believed that the finger was pointing at the likes of Chiteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane. Ravichandran Ashwin was kept out of the England tour for the most part, and there were questions again raised about alleged lack of communication within the dressing room. I know, or I am told, that at least 2 players have complained to the BCCI about this. The fact is, the BCCI typically stayed silent, allowed the issue or these reports of discontent within the team to get fueled even further. Then, of course, comes September. Virat Kohli drops a bombshell saying that he has decided to quit T20 captaincy. And let's tell you, this happens just before the IPL is to begin, and of course the World T20 is to start in the UAE. What I am told is that Virat first communicated his mind to Jay Shah, the BCCI secretary, who called up Sourav Ganguly. There was a con call which also, I believe, included one of the selectors at least, and Virat, according to BCCI sources or according to Sourav Ganguly tried to convince Virat in that conversation that he should not step down ahead of the World Cup. It would send a wrong message. Virat, though, according to the BCCI, was adamant. Virat supporters say this was a decision that he had made up his mind. He wanted to step back, as he mentioned in a Twitter message on September 16th, to manage his workload after having captained India continuously in all the formats. He wrote in that Twitter message, and I quote now, "I feel I need to give myself space to be fully ready to lead the Indian team in tests and ODI cricket." Now, before taking his decision, Virat reportedly consulted with team coach and his friend Ravi Shastri, who told me later in an interview that Virat was entitled to take these decisions because he had reached that stage in his career. But what was clear was that the BCCI was not happy in the manner that Virat had almost unilaterally decided to quit the T20 captaincy at the time. Sourav Ganguly particularly felt strongly that Virat should not have made this announcement before a major tournament because it would take over from the team's focus. The board was also reportedly unhappy that Virat, as I said, had signalled on his own that he was going to continue to lead India in tests and ODI. This is what a board official told me when I asked them, who is Virat to decide this? The selectors will decide. Now, what reportedly also added to the BCCI's unhappiness was Virat's standoff with the chairman of the selectors, Chetan Sharma. Virat wanted an even half-fit Hardik Pandya for the T20 World Cup, saying he was a match winner. Sharma and fellow selectors were against it. Virat eventually got his way. Then comes the World T20. India is thrashed in its opening game against Pakistan, our old foe, loses to New Zealand, and we are knocked out before the semi-finals. The defeat meant that Virat had not won an ICC tournament as captain. It was also Ravi Shastri's last outing as team coach, and the BCCI had decided that Rahul Dravid would now take over. I believe that all of this comes together and the BCCI decides it's time to act. A major tournament has been lost. A superstar captain has to be reined in. New coach, why not a totally new limited overs format team at least, both in T20 and in the ODI. So if Rohit Sharma has been chosen to succeed Virat in T20s, why not also in ODI as the new captain? Remember, the rest of the world is split into separate, or most of it is split into separate red ball and white ball captains. So why not India was the argument at the time. It seemed to make sense, especially given Rohit Sharma's stellar record in the IPL while captaining Mumbai Indians. Only there was a problem. No one in the BCCI picked up the phone till the very last day of the team's South Africa selection to inform Virat of the decision to strip him off the captaincy. The board says Virat should have seen the writing on the wall. At least that's what one senior board official told me. But what happens? Instead, stories are selectively leaked about how there is a rift between Virat and Rohit Sharma, how neither wants to play under the other's captaincy. Many of these stories are patently untrue, but again, no one in the BCCI comes out to clear the air. As a result, the communication gap only continued to widen between the superstar player and the board leadership, eventually leading, my friends, to what I believe is the rather undignified manner in which Virat was removed through a terse press release on the day of the team selection to South Africa. What does all of this tell you at the end of the day about Indian cricket? First, it tells you the limits of this superstar syndrome. Yes, fact is Virat Kohli is the superstar of Indian cricket and has been so for almost a decade, ever since Sachin Tendulkar retired and then MS Dhoni slowly withdrew from the game. Virat has been India captain since 2014 and is the poster boy of the Indian cricket team. In 2017, at the height of his powers as a batsman and in a sense a captain, he could almost unilaterally decide that he did not want the legendary Anil Kumble to continue as a cricket coach, and the board had to accede to his demand. Then of course he could do no wrong. No one would cross swords with the captain. He enjoyed the full backing of the then BCCI chief Anurag Thakur. Now in 2021, Virat Kohli appears as vulnerable like every other captain before him because he's just lost a major tournament and hasn't scored a mountain of runs in the last 2 years. Second, what this tells us is that the BCCI remains a terribly non-transparent organization which prefers backroom intrigue to open accountability. Remember, this is Indian cricket, where the captain's crown has always been a crown of thorns. In 1979, Venkat Raghavan was told that he had been removed as Indian captain while the team was on a flight back home from England by the flight pilot. Can you imagine? This is Indian cricket. We've had a series in 1958-59 against the West Indies when in 5 tests we had 4 captains. One captain was garlanded in the evening. Next morning we found someone else had been made captain. Compared to that, Virat, you could think, is luckier. But the fact is, some things don't change. And one of those is that the BCCI simply does not have a proper system of communicating and reaching out to the players. Thirdly, this shows that even having a former test legend like Sourav Ganguly as board president means that the BCCI is not going to change overnight. Ganguly is well respected, but he is also someone who cannot overnight change the board's working culture, where you have all these officials with their little individual fiefdoms. And finally, and I have left this to the end because I know it's the most controversial, there is the curious case of Jay Shah, the BCCI secretary. Make no mistake, Jay Shah, as the son of the Union Home Minister Amit Shah, is the most powerful person in the BCCI. He's also, some would say, a soft target because critics of Amit Shah will target Amit Shah through Jay Shah. To my mind, it is unfair to blame Jay Shah for Kohli's removal as the ODI captain. I say this because there is a conspiracy theory doing the rounds that ever since Virat defended fast bowler Mohammad Shami after the team's loss to Pakistan against the troll army, the right-wing troll army, the BJP has been gunning for him. More so when Kohli also offered tips about how to celebrate a meaningful Diwali. Again, the BJP trolls or the right-wing trolls got after him, claiming he was endorsing wife actor Anushka Sharma's no cracker policy. Remember, then the backlash forced Virat to withdraw the tweet. Virat was accused of being a woke, of falling to the liberal woke brigade, the right-wing's pet hate. But let me be honest. If you really think that Virat lost his captaincy because the BJP's internet army got after him through Jay Shah, then I'm sorry. That simply doesn't make any sense. Jay Shah increasingly does run a large part of the BCCI as his fiefdom, but I want to make this clear. If Virat Kohli had won the World T20, no one would have dared to drop him. He was removed because the board saw an opportunity to effect a change at the top, and it was largely done, in my view, for cricketing reasons, to have a separate white ball captain, not because of what Virat said on Twitter. Finally, I want to say this today. We lack in public life a sense of dignity and grace. Virat Kohli is someone who has completely transformed Indian cricket. In my view, Indian cricket will be seen as before Virat, after Virat, especially in terms of fitness. He has led the team to many victories and he deserved a dignified exit with a proper press conference and acknowledgement of his great contribution to the ODI team, not through a terse press release and no explanation. It is in that way that I have a huge problem with the way the BCCI continues to function. It's almost, dare I say, a bit like the Narendra Modi government. Major decisions are taken, but without any transparency, without any press interaction, no two-way communication. Maybe the BCCI also is a bit like the Prime Minister's big boss house. But that's another straight bat for another day. For now, thanks for watching. That was the straight bat. Do of course subscribe to my YouTube channel for many more such videos. For now, stay well, stay safe. Namaskar. Jai Hind.